A top footballer once said, "It's a funny old game." And but Jesus, is it not a funny old game or what? Listen, was anybody really expecting to get any kind of result out of that game yesterday? I think all of us feared for the worst after them beating us 6-3 very, very recently. The idea of beating Liverpool was one that I couldn't see happening, especially given the injuries, especially given the virus and that's gone around and everything. I wasn't hopeful, if I'm being honest. But you have to give, some credit to that team, to those youngsters, to the manager for, playing the right way and doing the right thing. I think clearly Ange had to tweak the system. He had to be a little bit more conservative. He had to think about not being able to pressurise them as much as he might want to and do a little bit more defending. And bear in mind, defensively, we still have Archie Gray, 18-year-old, playing out of position. We still have Jed Spence, 24-ish, not played lots and lots of football, playing out of position, left-sided defence. You've then got Radu Dragusin, who's brought in as a backup, not expected to play loads and loads of games, playing as your main centre-back. The only one you've got in there who's really in his right position is Pedro Porro. And in this game, we're asking him to be a lot more defensive-minded than forward-thinking against a tough Liverpool side. And I don't care what anyone says, they probably wasn't at their best. But that was a strong side they put out. Strong side. So to be able to come away from that game with a victory, I think is something we ought to be, quite rightly proud of. So key moments in the other thing you've got to add into that mix was the shock and the horror from a lot of fans about the new signing going straight in to make his debut, 22-year-old Anton Kinski. So there was definitely an awful lot of concern about that back line and that goalkeeper going into the game. Sorry, still got this cough, man. But of course, ultimately they did the job they needed to do, and we get the win to take up to Anfield, which, by the way, is going to be very, very difficult, obviously. But hopefully by that time, maybe some more signings come in, maybe some more players come back from injury, and maybe, just maybe, we can do enough with that 1-goal advantage to either get a draw or something like that gives us just enough to take us through. It feels like we definitely had a stroke of luck within that game in the end, something that's been sorely missing for such a long time. Key moments in the game, obviously the potential sending off of the goal scorer Bergvall. I think it's pretty clear that challenge probably is a yellow card. I think it's very difficult to argue that isn't a yellow card. If it's early on in the game and it's kind of a first tackle, then you can argue that you might get away with it. You might kind of get away with a warning in that. But the first one, no way was that a yellow card. It looked to me like the player had dived. He could have jumped over it. He kind of hung his leg out there, which he's entitled to do, right? I'm not saying he shouldn't have done it, but he's hung his leg out there. He's bought the foul, gets Bergvall a yellow card, which arguably should have gone to Porro, who had the initial nibble. I think the referee must have looked at it when the second one went in, because he did play the advantage, which probably bought him time to kind of think about it a little bit and think to himself, well, actually, on reflection, was the yellow card, the original yellow card, a real yellow card? Do I really need to send this player off? Not knowing what was going to happen, right? So I think he's probably tried to even things up there, and that gives us a stroke of luck, one that we really, really deserve. If we go back to in my last video talking about Dan Burn and his non-yellow card for a professional foul, but handball in the middle of the pitch after getting a yellow card, it's one of those, isn't it? So yeah, I think it's one of those that you kind of take. If it goes against you absolutely rage about it, and Liverpool fans will do, and I'm sure, and I've got no issue with them doing that. But at the same time as that, it's one that if it goes for you're going to take it all day long. Absolutely going to take it all day long. Big shout out to Big Dom Solanke. I thought he had a really good game again. Everything we do goes through him. He works so hard for the team. Bags himself an assist. Worked really hard to get to that ball. I didn't think he was going to get there, if I'm honest, but he did really well. Used his strength, got his body in the way, composed, played the ball across, and Burval took that absolutely brilliantly. Hit it, had a slight curve on it, just bent it round the goalkeeper, and absolute beautiful goal. But disappointed for him not getting his goal. The offside one, really tight again. I really hate this. I really hate the VAR offside thing. That is so tight, and I really do think offside there should be a level of daylight between the players. Otherwise, what advantage is he actually gaining there? You know, he's not 10 yards ahead. He's not even a yard ahead. He's nowhere. He's nowhere got an advantage in that scenario. So to me, I just think it's nonsense. I know it's the rules. I know it's what we play. So you accept it. But for me, I thought it was really close. I thought he was level. In fact, from the graphic that was shown on the TV, I thought he was on. I'm saying to my my mate I was watching the game with, he's onside there. That's going to count. That's going to count. And when it came up offside, I couldn't believe it. But maybe they're looking at it at a different angle than I was. And it doesn't matter at the end of the day because we still got the win. It will matter long term because that could have been a 2-goal deficit, which would have given us a real big advantage, one that we're really going to need up in Anfield. But it didn't. It hasn't. There's no point moaning about it. You have to keep on and keep on going. I do want to also do a bit of a shout out for Jed Spence, who I thought had a brilliant game again. Really composed, really strong on the ball, worked really hard, running up and down that line. Now, I don't know whether this is something that he's just started working on this season or over the last couple of seasons where he's really pulled his socks up and got involved, or he's always been like this. I don't know. But it seems an absolute tragedy that Conte wrote him off as a club signing and not really any good. Unless he's been terrible and he's had a terrible attitude. I don't know. But certainly at the moment you can't knock him. And I think ultimately he's bagging himself a place in this squad through his merit and through his hard work, and fair play to him for doing that. I think it's absolutely brilliant for him, and long may it continue to provide us some strength in depth. These guys are young, and it's good to have this young squad developing together. And I'm with Ange. I do think that going through some of this stuff will give them a level of experience that you're not going to get going through good times. So for me, really happy to see him doing really well. And again, the other one, Archie Gray, really composed, really strong, worked really hard, and fair play to him. I don't think we can't mention the situation with Bentancur. Good to see this morning that he's posted a picture on Instagram that shows him looking well. There's no explanation yet. I've not seen an explanation yet as to what actually happened and why he went down like he did. Is it an impact injury? Was it something else? I mean, there was talk on Twitter last night, conspiracies obviously around potentially having a fit or having a stroke or heart issue or something like that. Hopefully it's nothing like that. Hopefully it is just an impact injury where he's kind of dived awkwardly and kind of knocked his head or whatever. Fingers crossed it'll come out that it's not going to be another long-term injury, because the guy's had some shit luck for sure with injuries, coming back, injured again, coming back, suspended, coming back, suspended again. It's just been awful for him. So the guy needs some luck, as does the team, as does the manager. But this will help. Obviously, going into the weekend, this weekend in the FA Cup against lower league Tamworth, big banana skin there. But you've got to expect that we get a result there. if we don't get a result there, that would be a shocker. But you never know. Like I said right at the beginning, it's a funny old game. You just never know what the outcome could be. Anyway, I'm buzzing. I'm happy. I'm chuffed that we got the result. I thought the performance was good and strong. It doesn't do my heart a lot of good if I'm being honest. I can barely watch towards the end as it gets closer and closer and closer. And Liverpool did put us under a significant amount of pressure towards the end. But stroke of luck, stroke of genius, stroke of hard work gets us the result that we need. A little tiny bit of an advantage going up to Anfield, which, as I say, is going to be really, really difficult. But listen, you can only beat what's in front of you. We take it all day long, and while we're winning games, that's good enough for me. So keep the faith, and as always, up the Spurs.